Okay, friends, welcome back to West Coast Weekend, the marathon showcasing speedrunning talent of the West Coast. I am your West Coast host, SmoothOperative. Gosh, how many times can you say that? The past. It's tough. But right now, I've got speedrunner Freedom Pulse gearing up for East Chronicles Plus. And I can honestly say I've never heard about this game. Can you tell us a little bit more about it, Freedom?
Yeah,
And hi.
absolutely.
Welcome.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Like she said, I am Freedom Pulse, and this is East Chronicles. It is a remake of a remake of a remake of one of the oldest action RPGs of all time, which was originally just called Ancient East Vanished. It was a PC 88 game that, it being one of the earliest action RPGs, they were kind of trying to experiment with what works for mechanics, and so for this game we get a bumper car simulator.
Ooh, fun.
So you'll get to see me basically just charging headfirst into enemies a lot of the time, and it ends up being quite amusing.
I don't remember the last time I was on a bumper car, so this should be fun.
Yeah, nice way to relive childhoods for people that like to go to carnivals as kids.
Yeah, I do miss the fair, with these tough times. But anytime you are ready, Freedom, for the timer, we got you covered, so you can give us the countdown.
Awesome. So timer starts when I select the easy difficulty. So we will be getting started in 3, 2, 1, go.
Awesome, good luck.
Thank you. So like I said, this is East Chronicles Plus, a remake of a remake of a remake. This game stars Adol Kristen, who is the red-headed gentleman you see in the bed there. He is a young adventurer in the making who hears about basically this island in the middle of the ocean suddenly had a gigantic typhoon surround it, and strange rumors started circulating that monsters had appeared in this island. A lot of the geography in these games is actually based on real-world Europe, so this is based off of an island that's off the coast of France. So Adol decides to sail headfirst into the storm, figure out what's going on, wrecks his boat. This will become a running theme throughout the series for those of you that have played any of these games. Adol and boats don't exactly get along very well, but we're nursed back to health by this doctor, and as thanks for him nursing us back to health, we proceed to leave and then never talk to him again. Now we have a couple objectives here. Once we get into the main town in general, also shoutouts to this game's OST, it's absolutely amazing. The Falcom sound team did an amazing job with rearranging a lot of the music in this, and actually this version of the game features soundtracks from multiple different versions of this game. I personally prefer this one that's more rock-based, but they are all very, very excellent. But our first objective here is to go to this main town called Minia, and we're going to purchase a Red Bull, and by that I mean we're going to get some wings. This wing item that we purchase will allow us to warp back to this town whenever we use it, because we will be coming back here a lot. This is very much the central area of the game that we'll be coming back to after every single dungeon. But as you can see in the bottom left corner, we don't exactly have the most money in the world, so we need to fix that really quickly. And first step to fixing that will be clipping out of bounds. There's a little bit of a quirk with this game with how the screens are lined up, where they don't line up perfectly, so if you run in that specific way, you can actually make it out of bounds there and run around. It saves a couple seconds. But we're going to discover some buried treasure right here. This is a golden vase. It sells for a good amount of money, and we're going to warp back to Minia. Like I said, we'll be using this wing a lot. Well, we'll have to purchase a new one every time, but Red Bull Adol will definitely be getting his caffeine intake for the day over the course of the run. So we sell the ring, and then we purchase the sapphire ring from this super trustworthy looking shop owner. When you read the text, he's like, yeah, I just found this cool looking ring on the ground, I'll sell it to you. And we're like, sure, that sounds great. Then we go in here to this bar. We have to talk to the bartender so people trust us. We talk to this one-eyed man here, and he's like, hey, can you find my wedding ring for me? Someone stole it from me. And we show him the sapphire ring, and he's like, hey, that's my wedding ring. And we're like, oh, well, you can have it back. And he gives us money and some experience points for it. Like I said, very trustworthy shopkeeper. Truly no ill will or anything going on there. In order to progress the game, we actually have to purchase armor and a weapon. The NPC I'm about to go talk to, I'm going to equip these because Adol looks cooler while he has a shield and sword. This NPC right here, Sarah, is probably one of the best NPCs in all of RPGs because she actually asks you if you want exposition, and you can just straight up skip the exposition of the game. But this is Sarah. She's a fortune teller. She's like, hey, Adol, I saw you in a vision, and you're the legendary hero that's going to collect all of these books, that if you read all 6 of these books, then you'll basically save the world from monsters. And we're like, cool, that sounds like fun. Let's go do that. So she requires us to have one of each piece of equipment before she allows us to continue, and she gives us an item that we will show to her grandmother in this town up here in order to progress with the plot further. As we run over here, we will visit Zepik Village. We'll be visiting here a lot. There's really only 2 villages in this game, and we'll be seeing them quite a bit. So Jeva here is like, oh yeah, I heard about you from my granddaughter. Here, take this key to the nearby shrine where the first book is. And we're like, awesome. Already on the way to our first book. This adventure is going very well, you know, minus the whole boat crashing thing. But this is where we'll be getting to actually the scariest part of this entire run, which is the very first boss fight, Genocris. Normally, when you're playing this game casually, or even a lot of the time, newer speedrunners of this game will fight this boss about level 4, because level 4 is probably the safest way to do this fight. I'm going to be doing it at level 2, which will make this fight quite a bit longer and significantly more dangerous. However, it's about 2 minutes faster to do this. So that's how we'll be handling it. This is Genocris. He's basically like a Wizrobe, except with heavy metal music in the background. And all of these fire pillars do a lot of damage if I touch them. As it is an early action RPG, they kind of didn't know what invincibility frames were yet. So if I stand in that fire for too long, it'll take me down to 0 health very, very quickly. I take 5 damage per tick in the fire, and like I said, over the course of about 2 seconds or something, I'll just go from full to dead. So I'd be very, very careful during this fight. But thankfully, he's almost down. Once you get about halfway through the fight, this fire actually speeds up. So it gets a little more difficult, plus the hitboxes on this fire is very, very deceptive. The damage area of the fire is actually the bottom half of the flame, despite most of the fire actually being in the top half. So sometimes you'll see me walk through the fire and not take any damage. Other times you'll see me not even touch it and just take like 3 ticks. It's quite lovely. Like I said, though, if I can finish up this fight, then we should be in pretty good state. And that was actually pretty good. And with the first boss down, we can now progress deeper into the shrine, which I'm going to save for because, like I said, we are still pretty underleveled. Okay. So the way the bump system in this game works is basically you want to crash into enemies to damage them, but there's a little bit more finesse to it than that. Essentially, if you just go willy-nilly and crash right headfirst into an enemy, then generally you will end up taking return damage from them. In order to not take return damage, you actually have to hit enemies off the center of their hitbox, which in some cases is pretty easy. In other cases, it's quite difficult. This game has a strange affinity with single tile wide hallways, and it's a little difficult to hit enemies off center of their hitbox when you literally have to just run headfirst into them. Fortunately, this first little bit isn't too bad, and by the time that starts to be a problem, we'll be slightly higher leveled. The fortunate thing about this game is that there's actually only 10 experience levels. So once we hit level 10, we will be, quote, max level. Alright, so here we find this strange blue-haired girl named Fina. I think I did. Right there, I did a little bit of an experience glitch. If you actually confirm to rescue her twice, then you'll get double experience from saving her. Gives us a free level up, it's very nice. It's not necessary, but it definitely speeds up some of the grinding we have to do. So she's locked in here, and she doesn't know who she is or why she's here, or why she's been locked up. She just tells us that a man in a black cloak put her there. And that's about all we know, but us being the very nice individuals we are, will be escorting her out. Which begins the one escort section of this game, which thankfully is actually pretty easy. Fina follows us quite well, and as a result of that, we can actually be off screen of hers occasionally when we move between screens. She can not be on screen, she'll still follow us. It's very, very nice. There are other escort missions in later games in the series that are not quite that nice, but fortunately this one is fairly easy, and a lot of these rooms are free of enemies. I'm gonna grab a safety item for a bit of marathon safety. This is the shield ring. The shield ring halves all of the damage that we take when we are outside of a boss fight, which will be very, very useful. The escort mission is almost over already. We just need to basically take her back to Zepik Village, and then we will be good to proceed onward. And yes, as it was mentioned, if we are in an area that is not like the depths of a dungeon, we will fully heal health by standing still. Ideally, that won't really come into play, because hopefully I'm not just going to be taking pot shots from enemies, but should I end up getting a little bit low, and like in that situation where I was waiting for Fina to catch up to me, we can get up to full health pretty quickly. But Fina collapses from exhaustion after we rescue her, take her back to Jeba's, and she says she'll take care of her. And now we're going to do some sequence breaking. At this point, the game kind of expects us to run back into the shrine and do the rest of the dungeon, fight the next boss, get the first book. We're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to go into the second dungeon, and we're going to pick up some really, really powerful items that will make the first dungeon a complete joke. What system is this on? This is being played on PC. So this is really dangerous, what I'm about to do, because the game expects me to be about level 6 or 7 by the time I come in here, with at least like the tier 2 or tier 3 armor and other equipment. So I'm going to be a little bit careful and save fairly regularly while I'm here. I also picked up the silver armor, which as you can see is a little bit of an upgrade from the armor we currently have. Oops. Right there you saw, because my attack stat wasn't high enough, I actually couldn't damage that worm enemy there. However, they could definitely hurt me. Once I get down to this first basement floor right here, or the second, yeah, this first basement floor, most of these enemies can kill me in 2 or 3 hits. And as you can see, I can't really see most of the screen at the moment, but I know where we're going. We have 2 items I have to pick up, the silver harmonica, and we will be picking up a rhoda seed. I'm gonna equip the wing, because we're about to do a cool little trick, if this eyeball can get out of my way. These are kind of the worst enemies in this area, as these like little eye enemies. Alright, so what I just did there is called a treasure chest warp. There's a couple of frames when you pick up a treasure chest where you're actually able to activate the wing to warp out. And we use it there to warp back to town to skip the item pickup jingle. Yes, this game does have the same pickup music as Metroid. There's actually a funny story behind that, where back when they were composing this game, one of the composers straight up heard the Metroid item jingle and was like, hey, I really like that song, I'm gonna copy that. And so Ys and Metroid have the same item get jingle. So we give the silver harmonica to this girl named Rhea, who looks awfully similar to Fina. It's purely coincidence, I assure you. But she was missing her silver harmonica that was stolen by a man with a black cloak, and we happened to find it in the mines. The silver harmonica is special because it's made of silver. Silver in these games is magical and, like, can kill demons and stuff. Because the harmonica is made of silver, that song she played wakes up trees. And the rhoda seed that we picked up in the dungeon that we then ate as I was warping back lets us talk to trees. Specifically rhoda trees, which there happens to be 2 in this area, one of whom we will completely ignore. The other we will go talk to as soon as I can do this clip again. This clip is very consistent, there's a really good setup for it, but sometimes it just doesn't work. And so you just kind of see me zooming off of the map very quickly. Yeah, this time we're going to go this way, run down here, and talk to this gigantic tree here. And they will give us the Silver Sword, which is the second best sword in the game. It is also required to beat the final boss. All of the silver equipment is required to pick up in order to access the final dungeon of the game. So we'll be picking that up as we go. It's also a very nice buff to our attack and defense, which is very welcome. But now that we have completely overpowered ourselves, along with getting an extra level from giving Rhea the harmonica, we're now going to go and completely destroy the next dungeon. First, though, we're going to visit Fina, see how she's doing. Going to, check up on her, be a nice person. I didn't need to talk to Java there. There's a couple of flags that need to be set in order to access the final dungeon. Multiple of them involve talking to Fina and Java several times over the course of the game. One of which is after saving Fina. There's another one after the first dungeon. And then there's the final one after the second dungeon. We'll be doing the first and second dungeon once back to back, though. I did buy a wing, right? Yeah, okay. One of the more awkward things you can do in this game during a run is just forget to buy a wing and then find yourself, like, right after beating the boss, having to walk all the way back out. Fortunately, it's pretty easy to build into your muscle memory to just pick up a wing every single time you warp back, but sometimes, weird things happen. It's a marathon, or you're on a good pace, you're thinking about other things, Yeah, it's just a YS, just East. If you say Y''S, people will ask, why is that? So as I'm running through here, I have to pick up a series of keys, along with the silver shield, which I believe I picked up already. Oh no, it's right here, never mind. Like 5 seconds ahead of myself. Huh?
Is that a big challenge, trying to remember everything that you need to get for a game like this?
Thankfully this run is short enough that a lot of it is pretty easy to remember, especially since this game is very well put together, so there's not other than the sequence breaks and clips that I already did. There's not really anything else, so you just kind of have to remember everything that you would do normally playing through the game.
Okay, I gotcha.
But this game does definitely suffer a lot of the time from this and then especially the sequel, East 2, very much suffer from old JRPG where am I supposed to go syndrome.
Oh no.
So shoutouts to Korzik, by the way. He holds the world record for both East 1 and 2. He also is the person that wrote the most used guide on GameFAQs for these two games. So he is a multi-talented runner, and I'm pretty sure most of us that have speedrun East 2 have played through the game casually using his notes. So here we're about to go to the very first boss of the game, or the second boss of the game, the first really major boss. This is Nick Tilger. And in honor of our good friend Tuxdev, who is in chat, I'm going to save before the boss fight, even though it's a free fight. This boss goes down in 4 hits, like so. Very easy fight. And most of us don't even bother to save before the fight. However, sometimes during races, you just neglect to save, and then that boss can actually heat you into a corner and then just kill you 1 HP at a time. Which is a very, very feels bad moment because it takes a couple of minutes for that to happen. So there we pick up another wing. It'll be the last one we pick up, sadly. And we also picked up a mirror, which we will see used a lot later. Now we're visiting Sarah to see how she's doing. Unfortunately, this old man here is like, oh, by the way, Sarah got murdered. But she wants you to have this book. It's one of the 6 books you need. She wanted you to have it. She was murdered by a man in a black cloak. So this man in the black cloak seems to be a very, very mischievous figure that seems to be causing a lot of harm. If you talk to some of the NPCs, you find out that literally everything that is made of silver has been stolen by this man. He would seem like an ordinary, strange little mischievous house elf if, he wasn't trying to flood the world with demons or anything. So now that we are adequately leveled, and I actually should equip the silver shield, that's kind of a useful thing to have, we are now going to go into the mines, because the old man also told us that the third book is located at the bottom of the mines, and oh man, is it really protected by one of the most obnoxious bosses in this game. Because Genokris was difficult and is probably the biggest run killer. Vagulian, the boss that's coming up, is probably the second, is not particularly difficult, but he's the second biggest run killer boss-wise, because he's kind of a RNG mess. I'll explain the mechanics of the fight once we get there, but first we have to grind to max level, which is, like I said, level 10. We are already level 9, or level 8, so that won't take too long. But the damage values in this game are weird, and in order to do, quote, intended damage to the boss, we have to have the silver sword and be level 10. So we'll be level 10 for literally half of the game, which is quite lovely. Which Ys game is my favorite? Probably Ys 2 or Ys 8. Ys 2 is definitely my favorite to run. This one's really fun to run as well. But Ys 8 was probably one of my favorite ones to play through casually. So these little mantis enemies are the ones, well, little, they're quite large mantis enemies, are going to be what we're going to be grinding to level 10 off of. I'm a little worried about that one. So basically, the way enemy spawns in this game work, yeah, I'm a little concerned about where that enemy is. Oh boy, I get to go hunting. Okay, there he is. Basically, we're going to line ourselves up with that pixel against the wall, and then we're just going to run up and down. And ideally, the enemies won't move away from this line, and we can just run back and forth and beat them. The way enemy respawns in this game work is once their spawn point goes off screen, then it spawns a new enemy if it detects that they are dead. However, spawning in this area is a little weird because of the fact that we can only see like a third of the screen, if that, at any given time. Also, enemy pathing is weird. If an enemy doesn't detect at all, they don't quite aggro onto him immediately, so they just kind of run in whatever direction they feel like. So this enemy up here at the top of the screen just kind of wanders around occasionally. And it can lead to some wonderful moments where we're just running for a minute or two without a top enemy to kill. Inversely, though, sometimes one of the other mantis enemies from the left side, from a little bit up to the left of us, will actually wander down here and we'll get a bonus kill. Or one of the knights from further on will run down here, and that speeds up the grind a little bit, because every little bit helps at this point. Let's see if there's any questions or anything in chat. I really liked Ys 8's story. The true ending has a bit of a twist that I'm not a huge fan of, but overall, just the general theme of the story I was a huge fan of. These games in general, like this early game doesn't really have much of a huge, super dense plot, but there's actually a prequel game to the first two Ys games called Ys Origin that really helps cement and establish a lot of the themes in this game and give some context as to what's going on. Oops. Alright, now we're level 10. We can proceed forward and fight the next boss. As soon as we get past these knights, easy every time. I say that, but those knights can actually be in some of the most obnoxious places ever. So this is Vagulian. Vagulian is not fun. He is this annoying vampire bat that likes to turn into a bunch of bats and then reform occasionally. We can only hit him when he reforms like that, and the amount of time that it takes for him to reform is random. Basically, every 5 to 7 seconds, the game will roll to see if he will reform. There is a 1 in 3 chance every single time that he will actually reform. You see when the bats cluster up like that and then don't transform, like just happened there again. That is what we lovingly call a troll cycle, where he has rolled to reform and then said no. That can happen up to 2 times every single time he transforms. So essentially, every single cycle can waste anywhere between, 7 to 21 seconds, essentially. This is where really, really good runs go to become really mediocre runs very quickly. Because as you can see, if he wants to reform quickly, he will do that immediately, and it's very fast. Or there's times where he's chasing you around the room like for 3 laps or something, and it's a little bit less exciting. That was another maximum cycle. Wow, he's really pulling out all the stops for the marathon. I tell you what, that was quite the fight. But he's down, thankfully. Thankfully, he's not that difficult of a fight, but that was rather unfortunate. All right, so we get the 3rd book of Ys. And now we're going to go to Jeba, because unfortunately Adol doesn't know how to read, 700-year-old languages. It's a real shame. With how many people speak Latin in the world, you'd think that at least Adol can read ancient Isian or whatever. But thankfully, there is one person in the entirety of this island that can read, which is Jeba. Also, we should probably tell her that her granddaughter's dead. Might be a good idea. And this is where we're going to be setting the remainder of the plot flags I mentioned before. So here we're going to be like, hey, by the way, your granddaughter's dead. She's like, oh. And then we're going to be like, oh, can you read to me, by the way? So we have her read these 3 books that we picked up to us. And now we have to go visit Fina. So Fina's over here chilling on this dock. She gives us a nice little conversation about how she still can't really remember who she is, but she's very grateful for saving her and feels like we're important. That's always a good thing to hear from people you rescue, is that you're important. Remember, chat, you all matter. And we will now be talking to Fina again, where she'll tell us that she's been very productive with Jeba. She's been teaching her all sorts of medicine-y stuff. And then we talk to Jeba, and she's like, oh yeah, by the way, the last 3 books are in this giant tower over here. So you should go talk to my son, and he'll let you into the tower. And we're like, oh, cool. And now we will be spending the second half of the game in this tower. These for early Ys games like the concept of having the entire second half of the game take place in the final dungeon. So we talked to this man with this awesome mustache here, Gobin, and he'll let us into the tower. Right here, he'll tell us, oh, by the way, this door actually only opens from one side, so once I let you in, you're just kind of going to have to survive until morning when I'm going to open the door again, so have fun. And here we have Dharm Tower, which has some of my favorite music in the entire series. This song is called Tower of the Shadow of Death. And basically, the moment I heard this song was kind of the moment I knew I wanted to run this game. Just the amazing, the super awesome sounding cello bit at the very beginning. I was just like, this is amazing. I need to play this game more just so I can hear this song.
Freedom, do you ever sorry, I was gonna say, do you ever rock out to this music in your off time?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool.
Thankfully, Falcom puts out all of their OSTs on Apple Music and Spotify.
Oh, sick.
And so I regularly put a lot of the Ys soundtracks on because all of these games have amazing OSTs. And, while I'm making long drives in my car or whatever, just rock out to some Ys OST. It's pretty great.
Nice.
So we have a couple random things we have to do in this tower. I picked up an evil ring, which is a very important item. If you wear it, it kills you. Currently. The idea behind the ring is that anyone that wears it turns evil. And, us being the kind-hearted adventurer we are, can't have that. But we need it for later. There's a lot of these items that we pick up that it's it'll be important later, I promise. And then they get used once. But first we have to run into a trap. We have been now captured by the villain, thrown into a cage, and all of our silver equipment has been stolen from us. Also, we meet this dude here whose name is Ludogema. He's important. kind of. If you do the level 4 route for the first boss, then there's a side quest that involves saving him from some sleepwalking shenanigans that gives us the experience we need to get to level 4. So we meet him earlier, but in this run he just kind of is like, oh, who are you? And here we meet the man, the myth, the legend, the wall destroyer, Dogi. He loves adventure, hates walls, and as such, breaks us out of prison, literally. He also gives us this idol that is like, oh yeah, there's this old man here in the tower. Can you give this idol back to him? It's kind of important to him. And we're like, sure, what's the worst that could possibly happen with that? So we run over here. He's hiding 1, 2, 3, 4 between the 4th and the 5th candle, right here. And this is Raba. He likes to talk. A lot. He really, really likes to talk a lot. This is basically where we get literally all of the exposition for the entire game just thrown at us. And then he gives us the blue necklace, which makes us immune to curses. So, fun fact about versions of this game, the Japanese version of this game is actually faster due to faster text scrolling and just less text in general. It wouldn't be that much faster because this game is pretty light on text, except for Raba. Literally, that wall of text there saves seconds just in that one block over English, just because of how much Raba talks right there. It's quite ridiculous. But right now we are able to actually progress through that trap that was there earlier. Yeah, it's like 8 seconds just in that dialogue. It is important we equip the blue necklace. Just having it in our inventory is not good enough. It's kind of almost a rite of passage in this game that at some point during a run you'll forget to equip the blue necklace. Because if you do, you'll get sent back to prison, and then Dogi has to break you out again. Fun fact, there's a Steam achievement in this game that if you do that 3 times, called Adol the Wall Crusher Enabler. That enemy is about to give me a hug, and I'm not a fan of that. Alright, we're good. So we get the silver sword back. Ideally, the game expects us to grab all of the silver equipment again, but we only need the silver sword. Raba tells us in that like giant wall of exposition that the man in the black cloak, whose name is Darkfact, is only weak to weapons made of silver because of the armor he is wearing. So we have to pick up silver sword in order to beat him. Also, it just makes everything faster because we can do more damage. This is Pictomos. 1, 2, 3. He throws out these scythe blades in groups of 3, so we can hit him as long as he has a scythe blade out, because he waits to throw he waits until he's retracted all the scythe blades before he throws another one. And we acquire the 4th Book of Ys, and we will be getting a hammer. That is another one of those it's important, I promise items. Definitely casually, you get that hammer and you're like, what? Why do I need a hammer? This is weird. I have a sword. And you even check the hammer and it's like, not for combat. And you're like, why do I have this? This is very odd. But it's for a puzzle. We'll actually be solving the puzzle before we even get to the problem that the puzzle causes, which I will explain in about a floor. This tower has 25 floors. A number of them are just kind of throwaway floors, though. As you saw, that 9th floor was pretty throwaway. Oh, apparently I'm killing that enemy. I tried to dodge him, but whatever. So here we're going to take this hammer and we're going to break this pillar, and we just solved a puzzle. The puzzle that we solved is all the way down here and through this room. We come to a place called the Devil's Corridor. The Devil's Corridor is basically a series of pipe organs that plays music that is so sinister that any sane person it will drive insane until they die. It's quite a lovely trap, and it plays a nice little tune when you go into the room when it's active. However, breaking that pillar actually sabotages the pipe organ, so we're able to progress forward. It's kind of a shame that we don't get to hear the music. It's quite a lovely little tune. If you play Ys Origin, you get to hear a nice little Foley rendition version of it, though. That's quite lovely. And down here, we will be getting, who here in chat likes good boss design? Because if you absolutely love good boss design, then you'll hate this boss. This is Consklard. This is the pinnacle of game design right here. That was Consklard. I hope you enjoyed. That was actually the optimal way to do that fight. The strats for that fight have two very distinct strats to do that fight. You can either run in circles, or you can press up and down repeatedly. And there is much discussion as to which strat is optimal. I am a fan of circle strats because that's easier to do on a controller. But a lot of the keyboard runners very much prefer to use the up and down or direction strats. Yes, that was indeed an orb. And here we have a mirror maze, and that was a mirror maze. Also, Rob is over there. If we talk to him, he'll give us more exposition. He'd be like, hey, there's this blue-haired girl that got kidnapped and put in Rado's annex over here. And we're like, oh no, that sounds vague enough to be someone important. We should rescue them. But first we're going to pick up this battle shield. This is optional and 100% for safety. And of course the enemy is being rude. Okay. However, the second to last boss is quite difficult without it. It's already kind of a difficult fight, but without the battle shield it is very difficult. If I was going for a PB, then I would probably skip it and just kind of hope for the best. But first we're going to go visit this strange female that is apparently in the annex. Also, that enemy was very rude. Usually I can go around him. He earned his paycheck today. So this door is special. It only opens to evil people. Thankfully, we happen to have an item in our inventory that turns us evil, so we can open the door. And hey, it's Rhea. Wow, what a surprise. She's like, oh yeah, by the way, I wanted to get captured so I could give you this item. This item, the monocle, allows us to actually read the language of Ys, because, like I mentioned, we have to actually read the books in order to save the world or whatever. And we're kind of lacking in old ladies that can read ancient script, so thankfully Rhea gives us the monocle right there. And who likes mandatory backtracking? Because that's what we're doing right now. The game does not tell us at this point that we need to do this. However, doing it when the game tells us we need to loses minutes over just going now. We have to go back to where we sabotaged the Devil's Corridor. Because our good friend Luda Gemma has an item for us that he doesn't know he has an item for us yet, but he certainly does. And here we go. So the item that we need to get from Luda Gemma that we're going back for is actually the key to open the door to the final boss. And like I said, no one tells us where the key is. In fact, that was the one time I had to look up a walkthrough for this game, was to find this stinking key, because it's a little bit out of the way. And by that point, we're already up on like the 23rd floor or whatever, so running back here is kind of a bit of a pain. Also, for those of you that have any sort of OCD, I apologize that these doors aren't lined up perfectly. It bothers me literally every time I play this game. Yes, there is an iOS port to this game. It's also on Android as well. So here we have to read the yellow book and the green book. The green book's called the Book of Gemma, which happens to be this dude's last name. Oh, also he got stabbed. It's fine. He's fine. He told us it's fine. So he gives us the blue amulet, which is the door to the final boss. He's like, hey, how do you have that book? That's a family heirloom. Since you have it anyway, might as well give you this other family heirloom I happen to have with me. Which, thankfully he does, because like I said, kind of important. We get to go through the OCD doors again. Like I said, every time I just am like, why aren't they lined up? Yeah, that's true. Someone in chat makes a good point. A better question is, what isn't it ported to? This game is available on a lot of platforms. Is this the best version of Ys 1? I would probably say it is. A lot of people go back and forth between whether this or the TurboGrafx 16 version is the best version. The TurboGrafx version has full voice acting, there's a mode where you can play East 1 and 2 back to back with each other. And there's some extra anime cutscenes that are in there, and that's a lot of people consider to be the best version of the game. I prefer this one personally because this was the version I played first, and I have yet to play the TurboGrafx version. But it's kind of a matter of opinion for a lot of people. Now that we're finished backtracking, we get to retrack, re-backtrack, backtrack once more, unbacktrack ourselves, up to the top of the tower. And this room is lovingly referred to in the community as Scorpion Alley. So, Scorpion Alley is, you can probably figure out why it's called that. It's intended to be a damage check, or an armor check. It's basically the game trying to make sure you picked up all of the silver armor and the battle shield before progressing forward. However, the mirror that we purchased earlier allows us to freeze all enemies in place and basically turn off their hitboxes. And in doing so, we can run past it without any armor whatsoever. It's very, very nice. Because the silver shield takes a couple seconds to grab. The silver armor takes like a minute of going out of our way to grab, which is a bit of a pain. And here we get to do a little bit of an enemy manipulation that I actually came up with. And I'm going to save here. It's a joke in this community that someone coated all of these treasure chests in butter before Adel came through here. And you saw I opened that treasure chest from the back to avoid these enemies. Sometimes Adel will just completely slip off of the chest and run right into those enemies. It's always a little awkward when that happens and very scary, so I threw out the save there for a little bit of extra safety. So this potion that I picked up all the way back at the beginning of the game, I will now be using once I get through this area over here to fully heal for the next boss. Because trust me when I say I will need every single one of my hit points for this next fight. It is a doozy. So much so that I'll be saving again. And equipping the monocle. Alright, so this is Yoglix and Emulgan. We lovingly refer to them as yogurt and omelet because that's a lot easier to say. Also because a lot of us were really hungry when we do races of this game. That's what happens when you skip dinner to race video games. And that's Yoglix and Emulgan down. So now we have to re-equip the silver sword because, like it was mentioned, even though the battle sword is stronger, the final boss is only weak to the silver sword. Also, we get a nice sepia tone for this final boss because it's a lot easier to see. Also, time is coming up pretty soon. It's not on killing the final boss, but there's going to be a reading section. Also, this is Dark Fact. He's the final boss. That was Dark Fact. He was the final boss. So I need to grab this book, read it, and then there will be a text box, and then that will be time when I close the text box. So grab the book, read it, and time.
Ooh, you blew your estimate out of the water, Freedom.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I try to shoot for a sub 45 with this game, but that boss that I was fighting at the beginning, Genocris,
oh yeah,
every death to him takes about a minute and a half or something. And sometimes you can just get walled at that boss and lose like 3 to 5 minutes, and so I always highball the estimate there just in case that boss decides to be rude.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, this is played on the easy difficulty. There is a category for every single difficulty, but easy is the, quote, main category for the game.
So what's happening here at the end?
So, here at the ending, Adel reads all the books, and then the books kind of magically surround him and actually pick him up into the sky, and take him super, super high up into the sky to the floating island of Ys, where the second game takes place. The second game literally starts like 5 minutes after the first game ends.
Wow.
So we get a little text here about how he's thinking about, like, yeah, I did it, I saved the world, everything's good. I sure hope that Fina and Ray are okay. I'm sure I'll never see them again. And then he suddenly gets pulled up into East, not knowing that he still has an even greater adventure awaiting him.
Aw. That's beautiful. Honestly, you did such a fantastic job on your commentary, Freedom. I can tell that you put a lot of time and care into this game, and it like absolutely showed. Very well done.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
We do have a little bit of extra time. I wondered if you mind if I asked you just a few, kind of questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
We can just let the credits and stuff play out.
Oh yeah, and actually the credits are very pretty. Like I like this backdrop. It's like lovely.
And then after these play, we get a nice little J-pop song in the background.
Oh, nice. Perfect. Well, I guess I gotta ask, always, what got you into speedrunning and how long have you been a speedrunner?
So, I've been interested in speedrunning since I was like, I think 9 or 10.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Back when YouTube was like first a thing or whatever, I found like a Super Metroid run or something back in the early days of speedrunning Super Metroid. And then I found SDA and used to like love to watch like various runs of like Zelda, Mario, Mega Man. Even like if I was interested in a game that I had not played yet, I would go on SDA and actually look up the speedrun for it to see if the game looked fun.
Oh wow, okay, so that's like old school.
Yeah, and so it was a lot of fun to do, and then I became super interested in like Metroid Fusion specifically, and then when GDQ started happening, those would be like my favorite runs to like watch and rewatch. And then I started actually like doing like speedruns in 2017.
Okay.
I tried learning Metroid Fusion, realized that the run is a little bit of a hand killer. I would love to go back to it at some point, but I eventually ended up finding RPG speedruns as kind of the niche that I really enjoy doing. Because
do you find that it has
chill runs?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, do you find that they have like a little bit of downtime? You don't have to be constantly like on.
Yeah. Like, the games I run like this is very much all on all the time. You get 2 breaks during the run, and it's when Rhea's playing her harmonica, and then when we're waiting for Dogi to save us.
Oh,
which we lovingly refer to as, like, the tea break in the run.
The tea break, yeah.
Because you get to put your controller down, like, drink water.
Oh, yeah.
Have a cup of tea or whatever.
I have a little bit of tea left myself. Do you have a favorite game that you speedrun, or any other games you've been working on aside from Ys Chronicles?
Yeah, so my main series that I actually run a lot is the Shin Megami Tensei games.
Oh, goodness. Do you really?
Yeah, and so the game I've been running a lot recently is a game called Digital Devil Saga.
No,
I've been grinding for a world record for that for the past couple of months. I have the fastest time outside of Japan.
Oh my gosh.
But it's definitely a very long game because it's a 4.5-hour run. World record is 4:25, and I'm at like 4 minutes 30 seconds, and it has a lot of RNG throughout the run. But it's a lot of fun. It's super, super fun, super chill. There's a lot of breaks through the run because there's some unskippable cutscenes throughout.
Oh yeah, gosh, I have to applaud you for tackling that game specifically, because I have tried to beat Shin Megami Tensei Digital Devil Saga on 2 different occasions, and God, I just get so burnt out. Like, do you ever feel burnt out on any of your other RPGs or?
Yeah, so I run a lot of games in the series. The ones that are like the longer runs, like SMT4, for example, on the 3DS. I was grinding for a sub 8 for that game for a long time, and like the first 30 minutes of that run are a huge mess, because if you, for those of you in chat that don't know anything about the series, a lot of the games feature like negotiating with demons in order to recruit party members, kind of like Pokemon, kind of like edgy Pokemon in a sense. And the first 30 minutes of the run, you have to recruit a bunch of party members in order to progress forward, both with the game, and then we get a bunch of party members that we then use to make our party for the rest of the game. And negotiation is super random. Like, sometimes demons will just ask for a ton of items from you and then just leave out of nowhere. It can be very frustrating, especially because there's like 10 minutes of cutscenes at the very beginning of the game. And then you get to do negotiations for 10 minutes, and if you're not done with negotiations by the time you hit 20 minutes, you have to reset.
Oh no.
So that bit, and then just in general, the first 2 hours of the game is ridiculous. And so there's times where I'm just grinding that game for like a 4 or 5 hour stream, and I don't get out of the first little bit of the game. So we call it Naraku% when I end up doing resets like that. What is the best SMT game to start with at first? So SMT4 is a good one. The Digital Devil Saga games are a really good transition from like what you would call like a standard RPG into a lot of the mechanics that Shin Megami Tensei uses. Also, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne is probably the most popular game in the series. That's a good one. Be warned, they are very, very difficult games. So expect a lot of death. It's not like some RPGs where you die and you're like, oh, I really messed up. Sometimes you can die, even in speedruns. You'll just die and you did nothing wrong in the game. Just decided, you know what? We've been too nice to you lately. Let's change that.
So do you do anything for like the random encounters? Because I imagine that gets pretty frustrating in games like that.
Yeah,
when you're speedrunning.
So thankfully in Digital Devil Saga, a lot of the encounters that we have to take are actually... We have to take encounters in order to learn mantras, which are how we learn skills and abilities in the game. Yes, I do stream on Twitch. You can find my channel at twitch.tv/freedom_pulse97. So you have to fight encounters to learn mantras anyway, and so we just kind of... A lot of the strats in the run are just how to beat encounters quickly. And then, sometimes you just get too many encounters and you're going to lose like a minute or two because of it. But thankfully, running away isn't too bad. And again, because we have to take so many encounters, a lot of that can be mitigated.
Oh, yeah. So do you stream often? Do you have a schedule?
I don't have like a set schedule, but I generally tend to stream most days at about sometimes starting between 6 and 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Pacific Daylight Time, because Arizona doesn't do daylight savings time. Depending on the time of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I usually start till then, and I usually go for between 6 to 8 hours, depending on the game I'm playing.
That's great. Well, please, if you enjoyed the run, make sure you follow Freedom Pulse here on Twitch. Richard, thank you for posting the link in chat. That is freedom_pulse97. And honestly, I had just kind of one more random question that I was mostly curious about. Before the run, we chatted a bit, and you briefly mentioned that you were in the choir. Are you singing these days?
Yes. So I'm actually, by trade, I'm a singer.
Oh, amazing.
And so, right now, because the entertainment industry has been a little bit stymied because of COVID and everything that's happening, I am very fortunate, though, that I am actually part of a caroling group.
Oh.
That we actually get to go around and sing Christmas carols. We get to dress up in like the old-timey Dickens attire.
Oh my god, yes.
Go around and sing. So I've been doing some gigs with them. We did a gig at like a mall on Black Friday and go and sing at some business parties and such. And it's a lot of fun, and I'm glad that I'm able to do something with it despite what's going on right now.
That's lovely. Do you have like favorite songs or like that you like to sing by chance, or?
I don't know. It kind of depends on the mood that I'm in.
The mood that you're in. Yeah, that's fair. I don't want to put you even further on the spot, but will you sing us something? Come on, just a little bar.
I guess it depends. What am I singing?
Okay. So, what's a good holiday song? Everybody, what's your favorite Christmas time song or holiday song?
Dress up and plague Dr. Claus.
I personally like White Christmas. I think it's like real beautiful, but you don't have to if you're feeling nervous.
All right, no, I can absolutely do that. I'm gonna click out of the game for a second just so I don't have stuff in a different key.
Oh yeah.
Let me pull up lyrics. I should have White Christmas memorized, and I do, but...
Oh, I'm so excited.
Lyrics. Okay, that works. I'm going to grab whatever key Michael Bublé sings in, because that's the lyrics that I pulled up.
Shoutouts to Michael Bublé.
Yeah, shoutouts to Michael Bublé. Okay, one sec, let me... Okay. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.
Oh my God, freedom! So much love in the chat. Thank you so much for doing that. Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
beautiful. I'm so impressed. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Gosh, well, I really appreciate you showing off these Chronicles for us and also your amazing singing talent. Do you have any further things that you'd like to add?
Just shout outs to the East speedrunning community. It's a lot of really awesome people. Some of them have been answering questions in chat. Shout outs to TuxDev, shout outs to Meta. It's a really awesome community, very tight-knit community. Lots of really, really cool people. You can find our Discord. You should be able to find it from the SRC page, which is speedrun.com/EASYS. There should be a link there. You can also find all of the runs and everything. And shout-outs to them. Shout-outs to Korzik. He is really the main person that's done most, if not all, of the routing for these games. Super, super talented runner. Very much the one that's taken a lot of us under his wing and teaching us and helping us be better at this game. So shout outs to him. He's awesome. He just recently got back the world record in East 1, so major GGs to him. And thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really happy I got to be here. Happy I got to show off this game.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again so much, Freedom Pulse. And please, everyone watching, if you enjoyed the run, enjoyed the singing, please follow Freedom Pulse here on Twitch. That is freedom_pulse97. Up next, we have Ratchet and Clank going commando, and we will be right back.